Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. Let's watch.
I was very angry with you. And because, I came to America, COVID started. We never had vacation, never had anything good. We had a lot of pain, a lot of fights.
I remember, Natalie. The road has definitely been bumpy for us.
Michael, it was not your fault. I went through emotional breakdown. I lost my confidence. I was overweight. I was depressed. I was angry, mean.
She will often exhibit an ability to truly apologize and take responsibility, much more so than Mike, much more so than a lot of cast members. But there's another side to that she will also swing into accusations and hostility way beyond what Mike is typically capable of, at least on camera. So 2 thumbs up for her. That little snippet, just think if all the cast members could do what she just did, how much pain could be avoided, including Mike, by the way.
Michael, it was not your fault. I went through emotional breakdown. I lost my confidence. I was overweight. I was depressed. I was angry, mean. So many stuff. And I needed time just, step away. It took.
Yeah, okay. That's good. She is taking responsibility. I hate that phrase. I don't hate it, but it's just not my favorite. She is saying that she had a problem, that the problems are generating from her. The way she's framing it is much more in line with something that is conducive to improving in the future, and also apologizing to Mike.
To be able to, let it go.
I'm glad that you worked on your problems and stuff, but you did hurt me a lot. You just up and left. You said you wanted to take a break, and then all of a sudden you moved to Florida, and while you ran off, and seemed like you were having a lot of fun dating people.
It almost sounds like Mike was thinking that she would return, or that they were still married. I mean, the way the show frames it and the way Natalie frames it, that when she left, it was clear to the both of them that the relationship was over. Or is that still true, and Mike's just like, yeah, just hearing about you dating, especially on a TV show, was hard to watch? Or is Mike saying, I thought you were going to come back. I didn't know you were going to date other people. I thought we were just taking a break, or I don't know. What is he saying?
I was still here struggling by myself, day in and day out. I know you were going through hard times too, but I was also going through some really, really hard times.
Yeah, Mike, he dips into this mode where she was laying it all, well, not all, but a lot out there, just like, it's my fault, I was depressed, and I was mean to you. And then he kind of doubles down on her, instead of what I would hope for him to do is just be like, yeah, I made some mistakes too, and I was in a bad place, and I was mean too. And although I don't think I was as mean as you are, I was still mean, something like that. But he doesn't say that. He just starts saying, yeah, you were mean. You were terrible to me. Now, maybe if we knew the full story, it would make sense, and maybe they edited this, but he's done this before. It just feels a little like piling on, 1, and 2, not reciprocating, not, giving her something in return for admitting that. He's done this. I think if I was to interpret this, I would say that he is in a lot of pain. He's in a lot of pain, and because Natalie's nature, she was able to bounce back strangely, faster. And for Mike, he wasn't, and he's still reeling. And he sees her seemingly like, you certainly moved on. I certainly haven't. I think that's what he's saying.
Still here struggling by myself, day in and day out. I know you were going through hard times too, but I was also going through some really, really hard times. I withdrew myself from everyone for a while, and yeah. I mean, we got married right here 10 feet away from us,
Yeah, well, he's really surprising me. He's crying. Have we seen that ever? There's been so many reasons to cry. We've certainly seen Natalie cry. Have we ever seen Mike tearing up? I mean, that's really great. One of the things that I almost all the time will tell people like Mike, I don't know if I'm reading him right, but if I am, the clients that I work with, I will tell them, because we'll be working on their avoidant attachment, we'll be working on their vulnerability. It's all about vulnerability. It's all about being vulnerable in front of other people without hostility, just truly real. Not just and you can intellectualize your feelings in a vulnerable way, and that's a step in the right direction. But there's a way of being spontaneously like holistic or embodying one's vulnerability. Like for me, if I were to tell you, oh yeah, last year, or during the pandemic, it was really hard for me. Okay, that's a certain vulnerability. But if I were to embody the difficulty, and I'd have to sort of manufacture it right now. So, but you could imagine if I were to embody the difficulty that I remember going through, or that I'm having residual feelings from the pandemic, it would look different, right? It might have the same verbatim words, but it would look different. It would feel different to me and to the people I'm communicating to. So for these individuals, I will try to get them from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. Step 1 is complete avoidance. Step 2 is intellectualizing their feelings. And step 3 is embodying their feelings. And then I will say, you will know you have arrived at step 3 when you cry in front of your partner or whoever hurt your feelings, when you just spontaneously cry. Best case scenario, your partner comes home from work and hurts your feelings, and you just burst out into tears. And when I tell the avoidant attached clients this, they're like, they'll say, I've never done that. I can't imagine myself ever doing that. But of course, that's the human response to being hurt. A lot of you might totally know that's how you operate all the time. Someone hurts your feelings, you just burst into tears, or you tear up a little bit or something. Or when you're telling someone that, hey, you hurt my feelings, you cry. That's normal. That's healthy. That's human. That's the natural response. To not cry potentially means you've been relationally traumatized to suppress, which isn't healthy. It's holding stuff in. And so he's doing that right now, which is great. Did he go to therapy? I don't think so. I suspect, though, that he, 1, has a lot of feelings. 2, they're not fused right now. You'll often hear me talk about differentiation, undifferentiated. Another word for undifferentiation is fused. When people are fused, they're much more undifferentiated. They're much less able to sift through their feelings. They're more angry. They don't take responsibility. They don't feel as safe. And so I think, given their distance, they've been able to differentiate from each other a little bit more, such that both of their vulnerability is more possible. Because think about the end of their relationship when they were together. I mean, I don't know if we ever saw them actually this kind of vulnerable. I mean, there was a little bit of this, but actually we'll see what happens, because Natalie could feel piled on right now and start coming out swinging. So if I were there, I would wait for Natalie to respond, and if I saw the conversation going off the rails, I would go back to Mike and I would say, okay, yeah, you're really hurt. Validate, because of course he deserves that. And I would say, Natalie said that she was mean and hostile and unfair to you. Do you think you might have been too? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, just kind of bait him a little bit to be able to reciprocate, because I would intuit that Natalie would want that to feel like she's being treated fairly, at least in this conversation. So let's see what happens.
Also going through some really, really hard times. I withdrew myself from everyone for a while, and
the other thing is, underneath a lot of the cast members, if not all of them, probably not all of them, but the majority, is this sort of thing. The Big Eds of the world, and the Liz's, the Angelas, all of them, Bilals, they all have this. They're all capable of this. This is, when we see Mike doing this, you go, oh, you might feel the needle, from I hate him to he's okay to I have sympathy for him. You might feel the needle starting to move towards sympathy and empathy, and so a lot of the cast members will never exhibit this, but it doesn't mean that this isn't inside of them. And this is the key to being a good, effective therapist and a good, effective listener and partner, is when people don't exhibit this, you intuit that it's there. Because when you intuit, when you see it, and there are signs of it often, then you align yourself towards what's going on underneath instead of the persona, the bravado, or the defense that they're exhibiting. At the very least, you take it less personally, and at best, you actually are able to connect with that. As a therapist, if people come into me and they always show me that persona, that tough shell, the wall, or whatever, then I'm never going to, it's harder for me to explore or ask questions in a direction. One of the pitfalls of working with people with avoidant attachment is that they will convince you over time, avoidant people will convince me over time that they don't have vulnerabilities, that they're just chill, that everything's fine. And a number of times I've been seduced into that paradigm, into that idea, and then I'll randomly come across the vulnerability and be like, oh, that's right, of course, the person is human. And sometimes it runs by gender lines where a lot of notions and frankly just sexist ideas about men will be that men don't have feelings, they don't care. You'll hear people even say such things. Well, women are emotional, women are sensitive, and it's like, no, there's no evidence that women are more emotional or more sensitive than men are. There's zero evidence. If anything, the men who are socialized to be avoidant and to deny their feelings have more sensitivity and more emotion. It just comes out as anger and distancing and drinking a lot, this kind of thing. So they often have more needs because they've never been able to exhibit them and get them met. So I just want to, hopefully we can hold on to this moment, because before with Mike, you might just feel like he's just this stoic jerk face, but underneath it all is this.
I mean, we got married right here 10 feet away from us, It was tough.
I'm sorry.
You will often hear me analyzing apologies, and I won't go into the depths of my whole analysis, but one of the key components of an effective apology, meaning that you are convincing the other person that you get it, that you understand the harm you caused someone, is not necessarily to say I'm sorry, although she did say that phrase, but to embody one's sorrow that you caused harm, that you caused someone pain or something. And so she seemed to really do that in a very short amount of time. It's, sometimes we need to be elaborate with our apologies, and sometimes you just have to embody the sorrow that you have and the empathy and exhibit it through your body language and the tone of your voice. And other people will feel like, oh, I think, if I were Mike, I'd be like, oh, although I wonder though, because she said this sort of thing before. I wonder if he has a wall up, or I also kind of wonder if she truly is sorry. I think she probably is, but let's rewatch.
It was tough.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that she is. I also think it wouldn't be unusual for her to feel a little attacked at this point of like, okay, I get it, but you did some crappy things too, Mike. So it's not all my fault. I admitted my side. Can you reciprocate? But anyway, yeah, so she apologizes, and maybe this will help him to reciprocate that he also was a part of the issue.
I'm sorry that I left. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
It was.
And a part of your job, if someone is apologizing to you, that if you do appreciate it, if you do accept it, if you do think that the apology was a good thing, you should communicate that. He did that, yeah. I appreciate that. It's the apology system. There's a lot of things that need to happen in order for the repair to occur.
But Michael, we had a good start. Weren't we happy?
Well, I was really happy in the beginning, Natalie.
I never want to divorce with you. Never. I can't take you all out of my life.
You left, Natalie.
Michael, I love you.
I'm not sure exactly what's being communicated here, but it seems, if I was to stretch it a little bit, Natalie is saying, I want you back in my life. And he's saying, but you left, and I put up those walls. It's over. So and then she's seemingly, I don't know what's happening, because I thought she was with Josh.
We'll always have love for each other, Natalie.
I could move back.
Right, that's where it seemed like it was headed. She's propositioning him. And there's now his gears are turning of like, I think he's thinking, well. So if I was to take a guess, I would say that his heart, if you will, wants to say yes, but his head wants to say no. Let's see what he says.
Michael, I love you. I could move back.
I don't know. I waited a long time, Natalie. I just waited and sat here. It just, yeah, that part really hurt me, you know?
So a couple things. One, that this is a rare scene on this show and on television where you have former partners who are trying to be nice to each other. Now, she's trying to get back with him, it sounds like. That's a twist. I thought that might be coming, but I didn't have, it seems as though, I don't know, maybe she's wrapped up in the moment, but it kind of looks like she was planning on doing this, which is interesting. Anyways, the other thing is, like, why does she even go out there? I mean, she's traveling from Florida all the way to Sequim, and because she wants to thank him for being there for her and her mom during the war, which is nice, but traveling there, it seems like a lot. Anyway, there's nothing strange about that. But I will say that there are rare scenes that we'll see on the show, like when we saw Tanya and Sinjin. They had a goodbye scene where they were both crying. And I think it's a great thing that they are including, because, you know, they could edit it out or not suggest, because maybe the producers were a part of it. Anyway, another thing I want to point out that I'm reminded of is that Mike had this tendency that when Natalie, and I think it happened pretty much every time, when Natalie would apologize in a way that I think was healthy and differentiated and mature, instead of reciprocating or doing something more healthy, Mike would kind of double down. He would just say, yeah, you really hung me out to dry. You really did hurt me. And it's true. I think that he's not lying. I think he was really hurt. But I think it's some sort of pattern of his that I would guess has something to do with his childhood, where he learned when that happens, he has to capitalize on it and really double down on it, really rub it in someone's face, because it's the one opportunity he might feel that is happening where he will be able to communicate something about his needs. But he does it, I think, in this, I don't think it works. I can't imagine it really working for a lot of people. So let's rewind this. I remember, it's been a while since we've seen the two of them together, but when he did this, I was like, oh yeah, he would do that sometimes.
I don't know. I waited a long time, Natalie. I just waited and sat here. It just, yeah, that part really hurt me, you know? And at the end of the day, you made your bed, and then you went out and you wanted to follow your dreams, and you did.
Yeah, so, I mean, another part of this for Mike could just be he feels bad for rejecting her in this moment and doesn't know what to say other than, well, you left me. So, you know, this isn't my fault, but I don't think he needs to preempt or get out in front of any kind of guilt tripping. He could just say, hey, you know, I've sort of moved on. I'm sorry. I'm not really open to that. But I think he is thinking he's going to say that, but then he's like, oh, but then I'm the bad guy, so he has to blame her, which I think is what he's doing.
It just cost us.
I made a huge mistake leaving Michael.
Now, he's not lying. I mean, she did leave, and I don't remember their breakup, but they're reminding us of the details. Was that how it went? I can't remember exactly what happened. He certainly played a role actively in throwing a wrench in things. The day or two before their wedding, he called it off, or the morning of, or something, and then they called it back on again. So it's not like he was completely open to the relationship and didn't do anything. But okay, so anyway, he's not wrong of saying, like, look, you're wanting to get with me, but you left, so it's over, and I closed that door a long time ago. But I think there's just a more kind way of saying, especially given the things that she was saying. Like I said earlier, just say something like, hey, it's really nice of you, and yeah, it's tempting, but I don't think it's good for us. Plus, I've kind of moved on emotionally. I'm dating other people, or I don't know, something like that, I think. But I think he capitalizes, I imagine it has to do with his mom, but who knows. I think Mike waits for, not consciously, but he waits for moments where he feels like he can finally, like, get someone to take responsibility. And he just wants to really make sure that, yes, it is all your fault, and this is all your fault, because I think that, it's normal that we will feel that way. And certainly she did play a big role, but you would hope that he would take a minute to think about his part in it too, and at the very least reciprocate in this moment as a kindness.
We care for each other.
And by reciprocate, I mean reciprocate taking responsibility, not reciprocate by forcing himself to be with her.
If Michael takes you back, what are you going to tell Josh?
If Michael takes me back, I'm gonna tell Josh it's over. Because Michael, he does care for me. I'm appreciated, and he missed me. Please, don't give your answer now, okay? I hurt you a lot. You have your rights to think, okay?
Now, do I think this is a bad idea? No. I think a lot of people would think that it's a bad idea, but I think for the two of them, well, we don't know anything about his life after breaking up with Natalie, but I would imagine that if they go to that therapist in Squim, which is just down the hill from that house, then I could see it working out. I've always thought that about the two of them. I've always thought that they're just like a little bit away from normal kinds of conflict. Not conflict-free, of course, because no relationship is conflict-free, but they're just like they just need a little push in that direction, a weekly meeting to recenter them into some healthy, differentiated areas. I think that they're capable of that. And so, I could imagine it working if they go to that therapist. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others, because we all deserve it. We really, really do.